time.
You check your phone. No messages. You scroll through social media and watch groups of people laughing, celebrating gathering together, and a familiar heaviness settles in your chest. A silence that feels almost physical. Society has taught you to interpret that silence as a problem. It tells you that if you are alone, something must be wrong with you, that you are disconnected, antisocial, or somehow failing at life. They call you a loner, an outsider, a failure, but what if they are mistaken? What if your solitude is not evidence of weakness, but a form of protection? What if the reason you have only a few meaningful relationships, or none at all, is not because you cannot connect with others, but because you instinctively reject what feels shallow, artificial, or insincere? There is an idea sometimes discussed in evolutionary psychology as an organism becomes more specialized, more independent, and more capable. Its circle often becomes smaller. The herd moves together. Packs hunt together. But some creatures survive through independence. If you are listening to this, there is a good chance you have felt different for much of your life. You have attempted to fit in. You have tried to adopt the interests, opinions, and behaviors expected of you. Yet, somewhere beneath the surface, it always felt unnatural, as though you were playing a role that never truly belonged to you. You have tried to wear the mask, but it never fits. It slides off. You are here because you suspect that there is something fundamentally different about the way your mind processes the world. You are right. Today we are going to dissect the 7 rare traits found in people who walk alone. These are not personality quirks.
뭔지 알.
These are evolutionary adaptations. By the end of this video, you will understand why your circle is small, why your standards are terrifying to average people, and why your solitude is actually your greatest weapon. But be warned, this is not for the fragile. We are going to destroy the victim mentality you've been carrying. We are going to look into the mirror, and you might be scared of what stares back. Trait 1. Hyperacute pattern recognition. Most people sleepwalk through their interactions. They listen to words, I love you, I support you, we're friends. They take these words at face value because it is comfortable, it is easy.
가끔.
You don't. You can't. If you have no friends, it is likely because you suffer from or are gifted with hyperacute pattern recognition. Your brain does not listen to what people say. It analyzes what they do. It tracks micro-expressions, tonal shifts, and timing delays. Psychologists call this thin slicing, the ability to find patterns in events based only on narrow windows of experience.
간.
When someone compliments you, but their eyes don't crinkle at the corners, you see the envy. When someone agrees with you, but their voice pitch rises slightly, you hear the deception. You see the shadow behind the mask. For the average person, a social gathering is a fun exchange of energy. For you, it is a deafening, chaotic stream of data.
점.
You are watching people pretend. You are watching them suppress their true nature to fit into the social hierarchy. And because you see the performance, you cannot participate in it. It feels like acting in a play where everyone knows the lines but you. Or worse, you know the lines but you refuse to say them because they are lies.
터틀.
This makes you dangerous to be around. People who live in denial hate those who see the truth. When you are in a group, you often stay silent, not because you are shy, but because you are observing and people feel your observation. It makes them uneasy. They sense that you see through their persona. They will call you judgy.
다이나스킵.
They will call you intense. They will call you hard to read. What they really mean is, you are a mirror, and I don't like my reflection. If you have lost friends, ask yourself, did you lose them, or did you expose them? Did they leave because you were toxic, or did they flee because you were the only one who didn't buy their act? Your solitude is the price you pay for your clarity.
반ton.
You have an allergic reaction to fake behavior, while others can swallow the poison of inauthenticity and smile. Your system rejects it immediately. You aren't lonely. You are just incapable of being lied to. Trait 2. Intolerance for social entropy. There is a law in physics called entropy. Systems tend toward disorder, toward randomness, toward noise.
That
Most social interaction feels like noise to you. Endless repetition. The same conversations, the same complaints, the same predictable exchanges. How about the weather? Did you watch the game? I can't stand my boss. For some people, these conversations create connection. For others, they feel like recycled information being passed around indefinitely. If you have very few friends, it may be because you possess a strong need for deep thinking and meaningful engagement. This is not simply a matter of intelligence. It is a psychological preference. Research in personality psychology suggests that individuals high in openness to experience and intellectual curiosity often find superficial interactions less rewarding than conversations centered on ideas, possibilities, and exploration. Small talk is not necessarily painful, but it can feel unsatisfying when compared to discussions that challenge the mind.
temp
Many people organize their lives around immediate concerns, security, belonging, social status, and daily events. Their conversations naturally reflect those priorities. They talk about people, situations, and routines, but your attention may be drawn elsewhere, toward concepts, toward patterns, toward questions about the future, toward understanding how things work beneath the surface. You are not necessarily better than others for thinking this way. You are simply searching for a different kind of conversation, one that feels alive rather than repetitive, meaningful rather than automatic.
temp
You want to decode the universe. When you try to bring these topics up at a dinner party, what happens? Silence, awkward stares, someone laughs nervously and changes the subject back to something safe. You are viewed as too heavy, too serious. So you have a choice. You can lobotomize yourself, dumb yourself down, pretend to care about the celebrity gossip, pretend to be excited about the mundane, just to have friends, or you can stay silent.
bam
Most people choose the lobotomy. They would rather be surrounded by fools than stand alone with their own thoughts. You chose the silence. This is not arrogance. This is energy economics. You realized long ago that you have a finite amount of mental energy. Spending it on social entropy feels like burning money. You crave the deep dive.
Can
You want the 3 AM conversation about the nature of consciousness, the strategy of war, the meaning of death. And because 99% of people are terrified of those depths, 9% of people cannot be your friend. You are a deep sea diver in a world of wading pools. Do not apologize for your depth. The ocean does not apologize for being deep just because the swimmer is afraid of the bottom. Trait 3. The autoimmune response to control. Let's go darker. There is a trait that is often diagnosed as oppositional defiant disorder in children, but in adults, if channeled correctly, it is the trait of the genius. It is the refusal to submit to arbitrary authority. Most friendship circles are not democracies. They are tyrannies. They are microcults. They have unwritten rules. We hate this person, so you must hate them too. We believe this political view, so you must believe it too. We are going out tonight, so you must come too. This is the herd instinct, the biological urge to conform, to stay safe.
Yep.
The Ash conformity experiments proved that 75% of people will agree with an obvious lie just to fit in with the group. If the group says the short line is the long line, the individual will agree. You are in the 25%. You are the glitch in the matrix. When a social circle demands your compliance, your brain triggers a threat response. You don't feel safe in the herd. You feel suffocated. You have a high degree of autonomy. You cannot respect a person just because they are popular. You cannot agree with an idea just because it is trending. You require logic. You require proof. This makes you a bad friend to narcissists. Narcissists collect friends like accessories.
Contra
They want entourage members who nod and clap. You don't nod, you ask why. And why is the most dangerous word you can speak to a fragile ego. Because you cannot be controlled, you are often cast out. Groups will label you difficult or arrogant. They will try to exile you, to break you. They hope that the pain of loneliness will force you to come crawling back ready to obey, but this is where you confuse them. You don't crawl back. You thrive. You use the exile to build. This trait, this inability to be a sheep is why you are alone, but it is also why you are free.
Money discussion.
While they are trapped in a web of social obligations, debt, and lies, you are walking your own path. You have traded popularity for sovereignty, and sovereignty is a lonely kingdom, but it is the only one worth ruling. Trait 4. The architect's obsession. Let's talk about resources. Most people treat their lives like a waiting room.
Inniscape.
They are waiting for the weekend, waiting for the vacation, waiting for retirement. They use friends to kill time. You feel the passing of time like a physical wound. You are not here to wait. You are here to build. Whether it is a business, a body of art, a philosophy, or your own physique, you are possessed by a vision of what you could become.
That is what.
This is often called the architect mindset. And there is a difficult truth that accompanies the pursuit of exceptional goals. Meaningful achievement usually demands sustained concentration. Modern neuroscience suggests that attention is a limited resource. The more energy directed toward deep work, deliberate practice, and focused execution, the less remains available for constant social engagement and distraction. The brain shifts between different modes of operation. One supports reflection imagination, social thinking, and wandering thoughts. Another supports concentration, problem solving, and purposeful action. While both are valuable, they often compete for the same mental resources. Extended periods of deep focus require sacrificing other activities. This is why many creators, inventors, and builders throughout history spent significant amounts of time alone. People such as Nikola Tesla, Michelangelo, and Isaac Newton were known for intense periods of isolation and concentration devoted to their work. At some point, you may have realized that every hour spent in an environment that contributes nothing to your goals is an hour unavailable for building the future you want. So you begin making choices. You decline certain invitations. You skip some gatherings. You become more selective with your time and attention. And eventually fewer invitations arrive. That is not always a tragedy. Sometimes it is simply the natural consequence of choosing purpose over constant participation. The question is not whether you have fewer social opportunities. The question is whether the life you are building is worth the trade. This is the filtration system working. You are clearing the construction site. You are putting up the do not disturb sign on your life. People take this personally. They think you are better than them. You don't think you are better. You just know you have work to do. You are playing a zero-sum game with your attention. If you have no friends, it might be because you are currently in a metamorphosis phase. The caterpillar dissolves completely inside the cocoon. It has no friends in there. It has no social life. It is total destruction and reconstruction. If you are in that phase, solitude is not a burden. It is a biological necessity. Do not let the world drag you out of your cocoon before you have your wings. They will crush you. Stay in the dark. Do the work. The friends you lose during your building phase were never going to fit in your skyscraper anyway. Pause. Take a breath. I can feel your resistance. Boad, there is a voice in your head saying, but humans are social animals. We need connection. Am I just coping? Am I just telling myself this to feel better? That is a valid question. And the answer is yes. We need connection, but you are starving because you are looking for steak in a candy store. You don't need more connection. You need rare connection. And because you are rare, the statistical probability of you finding your match is low. That is simply math. If you are in the top 1% of intellect, ambition, or awareness, you will only resonate with 1% of the population. That means in a room of 100 people, 99 will bore you. And you will scare them. This leads us to the fifth trait, the one that explains why your very presence triggers insecurity in others. This is where it gets psychological. This is where we enter the shadow. Trait 5, the unconscious mirror. Have you ever walked into a room, said nothing, and felt people dislike you immediately? Have you ever been targeted by a bully or a manipulator for no apparent reason? It's not because you are weak. It's because you are a screen. People with high self-awareness and low social need act as a blank screen upon which others project their own demons. This is the Jungian concept of the shadow. When a person who is fake insecure and desperate for approval meets you, someone who is quiet, contained, and self-sufficient.
Come keep my
Aww. They are not always reacting to you personally. Often they are reacting to what your choices reflect back to them. Your independence may remind them of risks they never took. Your discipline may highlight promises they never kept to themselves. Your silence may force them to notice the noise they constantly use to distract themselves. Sometimes people become uncomfortable not because of who you are, but because of what your presence causes them to confront. Human beings naturally protect their self-image. When something challenges that image, discomfort appears, and discomfort is often expressed as criticism, mockery, or resistance. If you have very few close relationships, it may be because you are unwilling to participate in certain social games. Many relationships survive on mutual reassurance rather than honest growth. People seek validation, confirmation, and agreement. There is nothing inherently wrong with that, but it can become limiting when honesty is replaced by endless affirmation. When someone repeatedly complains about a problem of their own making, you may be inclined to ask a different question. Not who is to blame, but what can be done about it. That shift changes the conversation. It moves attention away from victimhood and toward responsibility. Not everyone appreciates that. Some people prefer comfort to accountability. As a result, you may occasionally become the villain in someone else's story. That is not necessarily evidence that you are wrong. Sometimes it simply means you refuse to participate in a narrative that kept both of you stuck. The goal is not to be admired by everyone. The goal is to remain honest enough with yourself that you do not need to trade truth for acceptance.
Caroline.
It means you have retained your reality. You are not lonely because you are unlikable. You are isolated because you are undeniable. You force people to face reality, and most people would rather die than face reality. Trait 6, temporal displacement. We live in a world obsessed with the now, hedonism, instant gratification. The next scroll, the next drink. The herd lives in the immediate present. You likely live in the future. This is a trait found in high-level strategists, visionaries, and ironically the chronically anxious. You are constantly simulating future timelines. You see cause and effect miles before anyone else.
Tom.
When your friends say, "Let's just have fun tonight, don't worry about tomorrow," your brain screams, "Tomorrow is the only thing that matters." You see the consequences. You see that the habit they are building today leads to the divorce in 10 years. You see that the business idea they are mocking is the one that will change the world.
Can
You are speaking a different language. This is temporal displacement. You are mentally living 5, 10, 20 years ahead of your peers. This makes connection nearly impossible. How can you connect with someone who is worried about a microdrama at work when you are worried about the trajectory of your life, the economy, or the human species? It feels like a parent trying to relate to a toddler.
man
You can love the toddler, you can protect the toddler, but you cannot be friends with the toddler. This creates a profound sense of isolation, the isolation of the watchman. You are up on the wall watching the horizon while everyone else is sleeping in the city below. They call you paranoid.
bottom.
They call you a buzzkill until the wolf comes. Then suddenly they want to be your friend. They want your protection. They want your foresight. But by then, you have usually realized that you cannot save people who refuse to open their eyes. You have to walk alone towards the future, or stay behind and die in the past with them.
Cap.
You chose the future, and the future is a lonely place because no one else has arrived there yet. They want you to care about the party. You care about the outcome. They want you to care about the drama. You care about the destiny. And because you cannot synchronize your clock with theirs, you walk alone. But there is one final characteristic, perhaps the rarest of all. The trait that makes a person not merely misunderstood, but remarkably independent. Trait 7, the autotelic personality, the internal engine. Most people depend heavily on external feedback. Encouragement, recognition, approval, and attention help sustain their motivation. There is nothing inherently wrong with that. Human beings are social creatures and connection matters, but some individuals operate differently. Their motivation comes primarily from within. They do not require constant applause to continue moving forward.
Tap term.
Psychologists use the term autotelic to describe people who find value in the activity itself rather than in the rewards attached to it. They enjoy learning because learning is satisfying. They create because creating feels meaningful. They train because growth itself is rewarding. The process becomes the reward.
Anime.
You do not read simply to impress others. You read because understanding matters to you. You do not develop skills solely for recognition. You develop them because mastery is compelling. You do not pursue difficult goals only for status. You pursue them because something inside you refuses to remain stagnant. The motivation comes from the work itself.
T.
This is why solitude often feels different for highly self-directed people. They are not constantly searching for an audience. They can spend hours, days, or even years working towards something that few people understand because the validation they seek is internal rather than external. Their progress is powered by curiosity, purpose, and personal standards, not by applause.
Tim.
That is the strength of the internal engine. When motivation comes from within, circumstances matter less. Recognition becomes optional. Approval becomes a bonus rather than a necessity. And the person who can continue moving forward without needing constant validation possesses a form of resilience that many people never fully develop.
Tip.
You create because the idea is burning a hole in your mind. This makes you immune to the greatest weapon society has: social leverage. Think about it. How does society control people? Through the fear of exclusion. If you don't do what we say, we won't like you. If you don't agree with us, you can't sit at our table. This threat works on 99% of people because they are terrified of starvation of validation. But what happens when they try this on you? They say, "We will ignore you." And you say, "Good. I have books to read. I have work to do." They say, "You will be alone." And you say, "I prefer it." This terrifies them.
Tatra.
A person who does not need others is a person who cannot be manipulated. You are a glitch in their power dynamic. If you have no friends, it is often because people instinctively realize they have no leverage over you. They cannot bribe you with attention. They cannot punish you with silence. You are self-sustaining.
Pep.
And in a world of parasites, the self-sustaining organism is the enemy. They hate you because you remind them of their own hunger. You remind them that they are slaves to the opinions of others while you are free. Now look at the pattern. Combine these traits. The lie detector, you see the truth.
Bomlet.
The depth addict. You reject the shallow. The sovereign mind, you reject control. The architect, you prioritize the mission. The mirror, you reflect their demons. The visionary, you live in the future. The internal engine, you don't need them. Do you see what creates? It doesn't create a loner. It doesn't create a loser.
Balls.
It creates a king in exile. It creates an apex predator of the mind. The reason you have few or no friends is not because you are broken. It is because you are incompatible with the domestication of the modern human. Society is a farm. It is designed to produce docile, consuming, dependent sheep.
Tom.
School teaches you to repeat. Work teaches you to obey. Media teaches you to envy. Social circles teach you to conform. You failed the training. Your programming rejected the update. And because you refused to become domestic, you were pushed to the fringe. You are the wolf they chased out of the village because you wouldn't wear the collar. And now you are sitting in the cold, looking at the village lights, wondering why you don't fit in. Stop wondering. You don't fit in because you don't belong in a cage. However, I must warn you, there is a danger here, a trap that many people like you fall into. When you are isolated for too long, the mind begins to eat itself. You start to internalize the rejection. You think maybe they are right. Maybe I am just arrogant. Maybe I am unlovable. You start to soften your edges. You try to lower your standards just to feel the warmth of human contact. You let a project into your life, someone broken, someone toxic, just to have company.
Panikan.
Or you go back to the herd, pretending to be stupid, pretending to care about the football game just to silence the void. Do not do this. This is suicide. When a wolf tries to act like a sheep, it doesn't fool the sheep. The sheep are terrified, and the wolf starves to death. If you lower your frequency to match theirs, you will not find connection.
Alter.
You will find interference. You will feel more alone in a room full of people pretending to be someone you are not than you would feel sitting by yourself in total silence. The loneliness of the mask is far heavier than the loneliness of the cave. So what is the solution? How do you live in a world that wasn't made for you? You must stop viewing your solitude as a prison and start viewing it as a laboratory.
Pania.
This is your monk mode. This is your training arc. If you have no friends right now, the universe has given you a gift. It has cleared the board. It has removed the distractions. It has removed the noise. It has given you the one thing every great man and woman in history fought for: time and silence. Do not waste it feeling sorry for yourself. Use it. Here is your protocol. Step 1. The radical acceptance of standards. Stop apologizing for your requirements. If you require depth, loyalty, and intelligence, and you cannot find it, then you starve. You do not eat garbage just because you are hungry.
ท่านทำไม่สวย
Maintain your standards, especially when they feel inconvenient. The easiest time to compromise your values is when you feel isolated, impatient, or uncertain. Yet those are often the moments when standards matter most. Every standard is a decision about what you are willing to accept in your life. Lower it carelessly, and you begin training yourself to settle for less than what you actually want.
Vestroskrum.
This does not mean rejecting everyone or expecting perfection. It means being patient enough to wait for relationships, opportunities, and environments that genuinely align with your values. One meaningful friendship can provide more support, honesty, and growth than dozens of shallow connections. Quality and quantity rarely follow the same path. The next principle is what you might call the signal strategy. People often search endlessly for their tribe, their audience, or their community. But the strongest connections are rarely found through desperation. They emerge through alignment. A lighthouse does not chase ships across the ocean. It stands where it belongs and shines.
ท่านนิพู
You become that signal by building something worthwhile, by developing your skills, by expressing your ideas clearly, by pursuing excellence in your chosen field, by becoming the kind of person you admire. As you grow, you naturally broadcast your values through your actions, your work, and your character.
บางที
The people who resonate with those values begin to recognize the signal. Not because you convinced them, but because they were already searching for something similar. Authentic connection is often less about finding people and more about becoming visible to the right people through the life you choose to build. And the other outliers, the other wolves will see it. They will find you. Your future friends, your tribe, are not in the bar. They are working. They are building. They are hiding in plain sight just like you. The only way to reach them is to rise to a level where they can see you.
ครับ
Step 3. The Mask of Sanity. This is Machiavelli's lesson. While you are waiting for your tribe, you must survive in the village. Do not go around telling everyone you are an apex predator. Do not tell your coworkers you think they are entropy. That is socially suicidal. Learn to wear the mask lightly. Be polite. Be kind. Use small talk as a tool, not a lifestyle. View social interaction as spycraft. You are an undercover agent. You smile, you nod, you ask about their weekend, you blend in, but you never forget that it is a disguise. You never let the mask fuse to your face. Keep your inner world secret. Share your true thoughts only with those who have earned the clearance level to hear them.
ครับ
For everyone else, give them the weather, give them the sports, give them what they can handle. Protect your power by hiding it. Let's be honest about the cost. This path is hard. The outlier path is not the path of happiness. It is the path of meaning. Happiness is cheap. You can buy happiness with a bottle of wine and a mediocre conversation.
Tankan.
Meaning is expensive. Meaning costs you everything. It costs you the comfort of the herd. It costs you the illusion of safety. But the payoff is a life that is actually yours. Most people die without ever having lived. They lived a script written by their parents, their teachers, and their friends. They die surrounded by people, but they die strangers to themselves. You might walk alone. You might endure cold nights. But when you look in the mirror, you see a human being, not a reflection of a reflection. You possess your own mind. You possess your own soul. And that is a luxury that money cannot buy.
Tanman.
Solitude is the tax you pay for freedom. And if you are willing to pay it, you become something the world has almost forgotten, a sovereign individual. Look at your life right now. Look at the empty chair across from you. It is not empty. It is reserved. It is reserved for loyalty. It is reserved for truth.
Kan.
It is reserved for the rare few who can meet you at the summit until they arrive. Do not fill it with ghosts. Do not fill it with noise. Honor the empty chair. Honor the silence. Because in that silence, you are building the capacity to hold a conversation that can change the world. You are not lonely. You are simply the first one at the meeting point. Wait for them.
Tanida.
They are coming, but they only come to those who can endure the wait. So I have a question for you now that you know what you are. Now that you know that your symptoms are actually strengths, are you going to try to crawl back into the cage? Are you going to try to cut off your own wings just to fit through the door of a house that is too small for you? Or are you going to burn the bridge? Are you going to accept the cold? Because the moment you stop trying to fit in is the moment you start to ascend.
Bunny once.
But be careful. Ascension makes you visible. And when you rise, you don't just attract allies, you attract enemies. The higher you climb, the stronger the wind. And there are things waiting for you in the dark that I haven't even mentioned yet. Psychological traps that only open up once you accept your power.
Katrar.
You believe. Loneliness is the difficult part. It is not. Loneliness is the simplest stage. The real challenge begins afterward. The real challenge is learning how to handle power once it finally belongs to you. If this message opened your eyes, understand that what you have heard so far is only a fraction of what can be shared publicly. There are ideas and insights that cannot be explored openly for everyone.
Kathan.
There are dimensions of human behavior, influence, and psychological awareness that rarely make it into public discussions, not because they are forbidden, but because most people are not prepared to examine them deeply. The loudest platforms often reward comfort over complexity. The deeper conversations exist beyond the surface. If you are still here, then you are already different from the majority. Subscribe if you have not already.
Tana.
If you want to go further step beyond the entry level and into a deeper circle of learning, there you will find exclusive content that explores the hidden patterns of human nature, influence, perception, and self-mastery in far greater detail. Most people will never take that step. That is precisely why it remains valuable.